especially with the settings we have for each of these three games. This is, of course, game one. If you want to explain a little bit about what this particular bingo board is going to be like and what the seed settings are.
Yeah, I'm happy to. This is going to be fun. The bingo board, personally, I probably should be in that room and have it open, but I do not. But I'm not, so I'm going to have to read it off the game screen in real time, as along with all the rest of the viewers. But basically, we've got a mixture of defeat some bosses, which is sort of the straightforward bingo objectives, but there's going to be a lot of tricky stuff like, oh, maybe we need to have a zombie in the party when we defeat a boss, and that will be a bingo square. And this is going to be triple bingo, so you need to have 3 bingos in order to, you have to complete 3 bingos to finish the seed. And the 2 racers are going to be sharing the bingo board, so they'll be able to see what their opponent has done and hasn't done. So it'll be obvious when someone finishes. If the other person, doesn't have the 3 bingos, then they're not going to be the winner. But yeah, it's going to be pretty. There's some pretty interesting stuff here. The community over the years has come up with some wacky bingo objectives, and I think most of them, not all of them, because some of them might be a little bit too wacky, but most of them made it into the possible bingo tiles for this tournament.
Yeah, and if I'm remembering correctly, Obi was one of those people who was sort of championing bingo, so has that experience with playing bingo in career day, whereas Joe is more of a standard randomizer player who's, been doing some bingo as preparation for this tournament, but otherwise is more just doing the standard race settings that we have. So it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. Hopefully we'll get the bingo board and the race started soon. But as they are, looks like it's about to get started. Hopefully we'll get that scene switched over, and then we get a look at what the bingo board is and figure out exactly what lines we're looking at, right? So a big portion of bingo is going to be identifying what lines are going to be good to go for, and then making the correct decision to pivot or not. So anything that stands out on this board right now, Dryzelizer?
Well, let's see here. I'm slow at this, but scare a panda with Ifrit is always funny. That'll be kind of fun. You might see a panda early and actually reset out of that fight if you don't have Ifrit yet, and come back later. So some of the early clears that you would like to get, you might hold them off, or you could say, I don't care enough about that bingo tile and just eat a panda normally, and then that would be sort of locked out for you. Oh, Mystic Knight is our starting job. Pretty cool.
Yeah, one of the
There's going to be
interesting
some looting early, and we'll just talk about the bingo board probably during that.
Yeah, it's interesting to note about these settings too. We're starting with all 4 tablets, but I believe there's no item scaling whatsoever. So it's essentially, if you're coming, say, from Free Enterprise, that would be your T-Wild or sort of like your Worlds Collide. There's no sense of where items are going to be placed. So things you might expect, high-tier items that you might need for, say, Summon 4 or Summon 5 could just be in a random chest somewhere. And I also believe we're starting with all 3 worlds open, so the world's your oyster, except the things that are actually guarded by key items. So they're out there somewhere, but you have your choice of where to start, and in this case, both of our racers are starting in Tycoon Castle, which is a good play, because it's a lot of loot density. The other thing I would expect is both racers to be shopping quite a bit, because shops can generally be where you can find your power in these sort of settings.
What I've seen so far for fairly powerful stuff in this castle has been the Night Crystal, the Night Job. Sandworm Bait, I think that set is in World 2.
Yep.
But we are still checking hints. Hints are turned on, and I also saw level 3 Flare obtained in this castle so far.
Yeah, so getting Mystic Knight as your starting job is really nice, because one of the squares that are on this bingo board is Break Odin. in that top corner. And that's pretty hard to do in certain spots. In certain spots, the only way in which you're ever going to break Odin is by the break sword magic. In other words, that Odin's going to have more than 100% magic evade once he scales past his vanilla location. And so that gives you a little bit of breather once you find the break sword spell. And that's going to be key for a lot of these squares. It looks like it's going to have both a required job or ability and then the spell associated with it as well. There's not too many free squares on this board. There's a couple. You have the free Lone Wolf and Waltz. You have Beat the Book fight at the top of library, and you have the Get Kicked Over by the Fence and the Sheep in History. Other than that, things require either specific abilities, specific summons, or specific key items. So it's not clear to me what our racers are going to do as Obi actually pulls off the Summoner Crystal in Pirate's Cove.
Very nice find by Obi. A nice find I saw on Joe's side was, since we have the Night Crystal, he actually found the Ragnarok sword in the Void, which is second strongest sword in the game, so he'll be hitting hard with the Knight from the beginning, I imagine.
Yeah, the other thing, I don't know if you're taking a look at the square, the other thing that really does do a little bit of synergy is in column 3, the get Lena poison both scripted times and defeat Megisa. Megisa being one of those two ways that you get scripted of the Lena poison, the other one being just do your North Mountain 1 check. So that seems like a pretty good synergy. Other than that, it's really going to be a question of what's going to really be our lines as we see Obi, getting the first piano done here. Getting a special service in the tool bar.
Oh man, I didn't even get down to that, but there must be some sort of piano objective on the board. I didn't see it.
I don't see one either. So it is very interesting to me.
I mean, I think Obi just really likes to play pianos, so he might have just done that for fun. And good point by Lily in the chat. Joe often skips Pirate Cave when he does standard seeds, and it looks like he may have done that again here.
Yeah.
So if there was something in there, which I think there was, at least one good thing.
Yeah, the Summoner Crystal was there. Which isn't too bad. I mean, Ifrit is just, Scarapendo with Ifrit, that's just summon to an Ifrit. Sildra, being that wind element against Omni is summon 4. Obviously, the Summoner Crystal is a job for your collect 9 jobs. So it might play a little bit, but there is something pretty big in Tool. Did you just see what Judge Joe picked up?
I did. It was the mix ability behind Zock's house. That's huge. Mix is an extremely powerful ability. Didn't even have to find a chemist to get it this time.
There are plenty of ways to be overpowered in Final Fantasy V, as those who are familiar with the game certainly know. That's why there's the 4-job Fiesta. Mix is sort of top on that list of things that will absolutely break the game. So we can definitely see a lot of shenanigans going on. It's interesting. There isn't anything that I can tell in this board that actually sort of relies or requires Mix. Which is a bit of an odd thing, because I feel like there are quite a few squares that are, would take advantage of Mix. We just don't have any of the seed.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be just for making fights faster or something. But you're right, there's a bunch of bingo objectives that you can often kick off with Mix.
It's going to be interesting to sort of, you expect the standard pathing, you have to get your level somewhere, and Wind Shrine is certainly one of those places to do so, as we find Apocalypse, our residential blue mage here, sort of at the Wind Shrine, and we're just going to use Terrain, which is great early game, to take care of Apocalypse. 250 HP here, excuse me. I also realized that Image the ability was at Licks here, which is a very useful ability, especially, if you come across a minnow in a bad place. Image will absolutely make that fight free. So we
Nice
do
win
get
there by Joe. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
that is a shop in Licks that wants the Summoner Crystal right there.
Wow, yeah. This is the thing about this flag set. You are gonna want to buy things at shops, and you're not gonna have the money for everything that you want. So, looting is important to get money, to get good stuff, so that you can buy even more good stuff. And that's X Fight as well from the Crystal Room in the Wind Shrine.
Yeah, I don't know about you. My thing about swords is always their terrible hit rate. X Fight solves that problem very neatly. So I imagine there's going to be a knight with a Ragnarok and X Fight, as Joe does just that, and that's going to be quite a bit of power this early game. I also got to imagine Obi is probably thinking, how quickly can I get back to that shop in Licks?
Yeah,
Bahamut
he's
and
probably
Odin.
writing down what's there or something like that, so he can come back and finish the shopping there as soon as he can.
And so we're going through again our standard routing here. Again, we don't really know where our key items are, and we actually do require quite a few. We also have some bosses to hunt down. As we get Archaeoavis, certainly not a required boss, but not too bad here. Split into 5 forms. About 105 HP each. Or, sorry, 130 HP each, roughly. So, shouldn't take too long. We'll see what we get from...
this X Fight is actually maybe a case where you wouldn't use it just because it's slower than killing one form with one swing.
There's the 4th form.
And Obi got Apocalypse down. I'm seeing Knights, I'm seeing Mystic Knights, and Obi with the Summoner there. That might pay off for him in the long run.
Yeah, what's really interesting is because we have a lot of things open here. So the way EXP is working, it was a change probably, about a year ago, roughly, is that EXP is dependent, or is basically just the HP of the spot. So if you're going for a spot that has higher HP, you get more EXP split 4 ways, but we have a 4 times multiplier in these flags. And there's the bracelet for Joe. That is a square, I believe. Obtain the bracelet in R1C3. That's what that's to be. So, what you could do with Odin, because bosses in Final Fantasy V are notorious for being able to be killed instantly in a number of ways, Odin being one of those ways as well, is you could go to a place that had, in World 3 right now, that, say, take Boko on a walk to Tool Pass that is 8100 HP, and if you can Odin it, that's a considerable amount of EXP immediately kicking off your party. And then suddenly your early game checks become a lot faster, although in this case, with X-Fight Ragnarok, do you really need that? But again, if you're playing someone like Joe, who you know is just going to be rushing World 1 as quickly as possible, maybe you go a different route. Right? There's nothing saying that you have to go follow the standard opening. Take a divergence and see if you can snipe some squares.
Absolutely. I think that Sing World 1 still is a really good plan, but if you're trying to somehow, mix things up, we're looking at I mentioned seeding at the start of this. Joe is our top seed. Obi is, there's only 8 people in this tournament. He happens to be the 8th seed. So if I was him, I probably would just try and do things a little different than usual against Joe.
Now, obviously, knowing that you got the obtain the bracelet square marked off there, you probably do want to sort of stick in the standard, because you can probably guess that, Joe's going to do the first couple of checks as most people would, and you're probably going to run into the bracelet. This isn't lockout bingo. People can share squares. So, having that center column marked out is pretty nice, especially when you have that synergy with the Megisa and poisoning Lena both times. So column 3, looks like it's going to be on the table for things, actually. One of the lines for tonight.
Yeah, I think we're having a little bit of technical difficulty. I actually can't read the tile that was just gotten. You have a chance at that, Fiery?
Yeah, that was steal some enemy MP by any method. In this case, it was using dance. Got Obi
Yeah,
going
so
for
it's
this.
yeah, little.
Obi's going for the one off little chest in Ship Graveyard. I couldn't exactly see. We see also Joe freeing the Lone Wolf. I think he had to look up exactly where this was before the match when they saw the bingo board. He knew it was in Wolf somewhere, but he didn't know exactly where. We try to do these bingos to teach a little bit in terms of status effects that bosses would be weak to that you normally wouldn't see, or various events that if you haven't played vanilla in a while, you may be like, I don't remember this.
And Waltz is pretty much like the most confusing castle too. Like it's a really weird layout, so I don't blame him forgetting where that is or hasn't ever had to do it before. There was a hint in Waltz, something about the Waltz Tower key, but I didn't notice what world they said it was in.
Yeah, I didn't see that either, unfortunately.
Well, we'll probably see it when Obi goes there. World 2. Thank you, Seawolf. Waltz Tower keys in World 2. The hints are still useful in bingo, maybe not as useful as a sort of standard race seed, but oftentimes you need to do some progression toward completing the seed normally in order to complete 3 bingos.
Yeah, I mean, the Waltz Tower key is going to get you that free the air bubbles and sunken waltz, right? So that is a square. It's not a particularly great square, but it may become important. It's nice to know that, hey, maybe you should be checking World 2. Of course, that could be a free World 2 check, say, about Castle or Moogle Waterway. Or it could be, behind the Anti-Berry and the Bracelet. It could be at the Gilgamesh 4 spot. But it's good to know sort of to narrow down your search, because that is one of those key items that we are actually looking for. So,
Yes,
and speaking of Castle,
here we go. Yeah, right at the gate, one of 2 Bow Castle fights. Meanwhile, down below, Obi using Odin's damage. Both has insta-kill and damage attacks to take out Califisteria. Oh, and it's the Sergeant with his dogs.
yep, and that is a square. All you have to do is kill the animals.
Oh no. What if you don't want to kill the animals?
And then you're not a Super Metroid player.
Yep, I'm pretty sure there's a save the animals bingo square too, so it was just the random roll of the bingo board that gave us kill the animals this time.
Yeah, I do want to thank ADR and the Final Fantasy 1 randomizer community for allowing us to use their resources to not only host a bingo board, but also showcase this randomizer as well. So it's a great to sort of partner with them. We've received quite a bit of support from their admins and ADR themselves. So sort of letting us use their bingo resources, because I remember we were generating some boards using Bingo Sync, and you would have some boards that would have both save and kill the animals at the same board and same line. It'd be kind of tricky because it's like, are we going to allow people to do resets and get both squares? That's not an issue anymore. We do get the Blue Mage Crystal from Bell Castle, which is my favorite job. And it's also one job that is required of the 9 total job square, so it's also nice to find for that.
Yeah, also one of my favorite jobs, and what did that say? Barrier Tower? Darn it, I missed it. A hint. Something about Barrier Tower hint. Maybe we can get some help from the chat again.
Hopefully. We did also see a couple of jobs for sale here in, I believe this is Carlin. So, got to build up to those 9s. That square seems pretty likely to be hit at some point. 9 jobs is not particularly that many when you have 22 jobs to choose from. So the barrier tower has the anti-barrier, which means we need the sub-key.
Of course we need the sub-key. The sub-key seems to be important for most seeds. It just opens up so much. But yeah, that's the earliest check that the sub-key, in terms of like a vanilla progression, it's the earliest check that the sub-key would open.
I do want to correct myself from earlier. I thought the Waltz Tower key was important. No, it's just the submarine key that's important for the air bubbles. So that was my bad earlier. So yes, while the anti-barrier is also a square, yeah, ultimately we gotta find the submarine key. There is also another square on Obi's side while Joe is dealing with necrophobia and his invincible barriers. We'll see how that goes. I believe this looks like Moogle Waterway, but maybe not. But we will get a square and 1/2 of the Get Lena Poison both scripted times from this goblin check.
Yeah, those goblins replace X-Death at the end of the game, so they're just in there because the final spot in the game, the final fight, is not Tree X-Death or Neo X-Death. It's a random boss. We probably won't go all the way there, but there's a small chance that we might.
Yeah, it's one of those things we do for bingo because there's no expectation we go all the way through the void. For this type of bingo, very unlikely. It'll be very interesting, come back from game 2, which is certainly going to happen. That's going to be a boss bingo. It may very likely end up going through the void trying to get their last couple of bosses as a counterplay. It's an interesting play, and I expect we'll see a couple people go that route. Even more so if we do get a game 3, but that's for later. What we're doing now, Obi is still shopping. There's the Chemist Crystal. Again, build up your 9 jobs. We have Mix, so the Chemist by itself isn't really worth too much. We also have the Mimic Command, whereas Joe is going, about to finish this Necro fight. Hopefully, Necro does get a little bit scary with the double hits here, so... But at the same time...
Nice advantage of, X-Fight not caring about being blind.
We'll see what this rewards Joe with. Some XP. This doesn't look to be Moogle Waterway then. It is just the Tycoon Meteor with the Shrine page. Could go check that immediately if you really wanted to, but there's no real reason to go to a World 3 boss right now. So we're just going to head right into Circuit.
World 3 would be pretty out there, but we're World 2. Joe's in World 2. World 3, maybe the Boko check, which I know Obi really likes to do. He'll probably go there sooner rather than later.
There's the blue ability if you don't really like the blue mage job. We also got, I believe that was Black 6 in the Surgate shop. That is, Joe didn't shop Lick, so he has no idea that Doom is out there. So, I'm still a bit surprised when you leave Black 6 out, because magic is pretty nice. And, well, Black 6 gets you access to Fire 3, Ice 3, Bolt 3, and also Doom as a spell. But at the same time, you also need to have some money.
Yeah, the thing is, there's just too much good stuff. So you either go with, you try and be super optimal, or some people just go with they have a certain style. There's certain things that they like that they're looking for, and if it's not those things, they shop somewhere else first. I hope that we get some good shrine page. Something about the shrine page. The librarian said probably the one that it's in World 1 because we already got it from Tycoon Meteor. Yeah.
So no help.
What I was saying about Divergence is that I hope that both of these racers probably are gonna show us a little bit their different preferences in how they want to build their team eventually. and sort of go in slightly different directions in that way.
Whereas Joe is going to stick around World 2 even longer, gonna go through this Moogle Waterway, 5,000 HP. Can be a little bit rough, but when you're dealing, 4,000 around with X-Fight Ragnarok, why not, right?
Yeah,
At a
we
little
can
bit faster levels.
jump ahead if we want. The thing about these World 1 checks, most of them are quite fast, so it's still sort of to your advantage to do a lot of early quick checks, and the ones in World 3 tend to be a little slower. Even if you're just running through the whole dungeon, that does take some time.
So, Joe, I don't know if he has any camping gear whatsoever. Uh, my guess is he doesn't, but maybe he does. Uh, Not great to find Twintania when you're at low health, because most of the things that Twintania will do is just going to be fractional damage of your maximum HP, and then you quickly find yourself at 0 HP. We do have Odin coming out from Obi, not the what you really want to do against Poroboros. Just simply because if you do True Edge here, they will still cast Life 2. Poroboros being the boss, so you have to kill all of them simultaneously. At this spot, you might be able to get away with it because it can't cast Life 2 that many times, but generally not the best idea with Poroboros.
Yeah, there's 6 of them, so even if they can only cast it once, that still is 6 times that you would have to kill them with True Edge. Ifrit is probably the play. He also has Ifrit, but even that, if it doesn't kill them outright, they will all hear too. You probably have to end up casting it a few times.
Joe did find the T-Rex and use a
And that
Phoenix
was a
Down on
bingo
that.
square, yes.
So I got to imagine Joe is going to go to North Mountain 1, and maybe he's doing the sort of standardized routing where we try to hold off until we get the Mirage Radar to do all of North Mountain, but Joe knows that once he finds Megisa, he can have all but one square for that line, just needing to find Siren and waiting a little bit for Siren to become undead. So I'm starting to fill out a little bit of the board, but again, we don't know what this board is going to look like because we don't know ultimately, certainly with bosses, we don't know where they're going to be. We also do see Mantra in the, looks like the Karnak shop here. That's also going to be a square in the bottom row that we already have 2 of the squares filled out. However, something sticks out to me on that bottom row. I don't know if it sticks out to you. The clear all 4 crystal locations is a rough square. I don't know. How do you feel about that? Right, just requiring the adamantite to get to the earth crystal, the lost tower key to get to the water crystal. That's 2 key items. We have a little bit of a hint for one of them, but we don't have a hint for the adamantite. And there's no telling whether or not that lost tower key is going to be really in our future.
Sorry, I just refreshed the stream if I dropped off there for a second.
No problem.
Can you read the tiles, Fiery?
So I have the actual bingo board pulled up on my computer. So
all right, that's what I'll do then. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks.
So yeah, I mean, again, we're decently close to filling out 2 lines, but if that adamantite or the lost tower key is sort of very, very buried, or that siren is buried, you might be chasing that, but it might just end up being the wrong play. That's sort of the fun of bingo. You don't know what your lines are going to be until you have the things in front of you. Because again, that siren could be, at the Neo X stuff spot. Not gonna see that. almost certainly not going to see that. We do get a vanilla Crayclaw, looks like, at the catapult. So that's always nice. Entertaining. We have the book, the page at the top of the library. My favorite spot to get my L5 Doom.
Yeah, and that's a nice and easy bingo tile.
Yeah, we don't have as many as you would normally get in these bingo boards, but we do have a few. This does, I guess, column 1, row 4. So, clear fork tower, that requires the elder branch. We did get of the, one of the more hilarious hints in the game, which is burning areas have no key items of value, which doesn't actually preclude fork tower being required in any seed. So it ends up being a little bit of a useless hint because you're probably going through burning Karnak most of the time in a standard seed, so you just kind of see that and you just kind of laugh and ignore it. So, or as, Rom would like to say, if you get a burning areas are barren hint, then Fork Tower is absolutely required because Rom would swear that that Fork Tower is always required regardless.
I mean, Rom is involved as restreamer for this race, so I would not put it past his powers to make this somehow a required fork seed. And
we did get our first Greg sighting of the night. That's always exciting. Some Battle of the Big Bridge. Looks like Joe is going up to the library now, is going to also see that burning areas are barren. Probably going to go for this book as well. We'll see if he gets the shorter fight, which is a little bit more likely to get the shorter fight where it just dies after page 64 rather than going through the entire book list. So we'll see if Joe's a little bit luckier in that regard.
I don't know what the percentages are, but it's got to be something like probably only 1/8 of the time or so, maybe, that you have to fight multiple pages.
I want to say it's 3/16.
Okay,
so roughly 1 in 8, yeah. Meanwhile, we got Chimera Brain. Will get taken care of just by Odin. Again, you can kind of see a lot of running Final Fantasy V DPS and instant kills.
Yeah, and Odin does both of those things, so it's really good to have found it super early. And there's a Falls page.
Not useful yet. We don't have the submarine key. We're still on the hunt for the submarine key. There is. We do see that Joe took Boko for a walk, and we get our tool pass check, which is Adamant Timmy. If you have a Dark Matter, this is really nice for that. If you have L5 Doom and Blue Mage, which is my favorite way to kill Adamant Timmy, that will also work as it's level 20. If you have Ice 3 Spellblade, that will also work. Otherwise, Adamant Timmy is going to be a little bit rough. Will hit and can hit multiple times per turn.
Yeah, hit pretty hard at the start there against Lena in the front row.
Yeah, so what's interesting, right? Because you have a knight in your job, or Joe has a knight in his team. If you have a critical party member, the fight is over. Adam and Timmy can only do physical attacks. You just press guard. Suddenly you have not only your knight taking 0 damage, but everyone that he is auto-guarding, which is anyone who's in crit. And, well, you just take 0 damage. And you're free to do whatever you want, because Adam and Timmy is just going to keep on punching until either everyone dies on your team or he dies. So, Knight, again, certainly one of those broken classes if you like to leave your characters in critical HP. Either way, we're going to see this next fight.
Block, but then she also took the hit because I don't think Joe was guarding. He's trying to get Lena to do the damage.
Perfectly understandable. I believe that was just a Guardian from Tool Passive. Nothing going there. We'll see where he goes. We'll see where Obi goes as well. Both going into World 1. They've both done different things. Joe's going to go into the Waltz Meteor, look at the Vanilla Poroporos, I believe. Obi is going to take off a square, maybe go a little bit of shopping here as well. The armor shop is unique. Did see Sing, which is a nice ability. And is probably going to go harass a sheep. Joe is deciding that money is the way to win at Final Fantasy V. He's not wrong. Money definitely is a great way to kill things very quickly. It can get expensive. If you're no longer interested in shopping for things, just go ahead and do it. Taking care of that.
That was a very expensive fight right there, but
very much so.
It was also very quick. Very quick,
Joe...
so he exchanged money for speed.
So we do see Joe going into North Mountain, Obi taking on the free squares. So we know what Joe's going to encounter here. Is going to get the Goblin Square, and that's going to be 3 of 5 squares in column 1 as well for Joe. And Obi is sort of going where Joe went, which is the catapult area, which had Great Claw. So not going to be a square for him up there, but is going on Lanka Meteor as well as a consequence. But it's interesting, right? Because you look at our key items. We have the Falls page, we have the Shrine page, and we have the Bracelet. The Bracelet doesn't do us any good until we get the Submarine Key, right? We can't do anything until we get into Extef's Castle. We can't get into Extef's Castle until we get the Anti-Barrier. The Anti-Barrier is behind the Submarine Key. The Falls page does absolutely nothing for us because we don't have the Sub Key. The Shrine page we can actually go into. What other things haven't we done? We haven't done Hiryu Valley, and we haven't done Shrine, and we haven't done Odin Spot. Where's our progression?
Be something else that we haven't done.
I don't think we've done, we may not have done Lanka Meteor. I don't know if Joe went and done that and did that at all. But we're getting pretty tight on possible checks of where our progression can be. And it's interesting because, we're doing this as all world open, which we don't generally play with a lot. So our team may very much expect us to just sort of hang in World 3 for a while. And we do get the Elder Branch is in World 3. That's, required for that Fork Tower square, which I assume we're going to be very interested in because, well, we have to clear Fork Tower square, and then we just need to break Odin and hope that Odin's in a spot in which we can break him if we don't have Breakblade.
Yeah, so you're right. Maybe we will end up having to go to World 3 earlier than expected. That is one of the fun things about All Worlds Open Seeds, and certainly we have already found some pretty good power, so probably be able to get through it unless there's just some really rude bosses there.
Yeah, my expectations is... so Joe doesn't have any... I don't believe he has any instant kill abilities. Obi does, and where you get these high HP spots once we get into World 3, there's a couple in World 2, that's where instant kill is going to be king. Right? There is no faster way to deal with 40,000 or 50,000 HP than to press a button, and have it all go away immediately.
For sure. Yeah, even this Hiryu Valley check has decent amount of hit points that it would be slower, even with a strong, Ragnarok X fight attack and such. Of course, it depends on who the boss is. They can't all be instant killed, but
And they can't all be guild
as we're
tossed.
about to see. That
Miragine
too
should have
is
here.
true. Yeah, some of the bosses, if you try to guild toss them, you'll do 0, and that's the game telling you find another way.
There aren't many, but there are a couple out there. We'll see what 12,000 HP spot is. It is Miragine.
Oh, nice call. I think that she will take some guild toss damage, but not as much as you would like to see.
Yeah, Joe is going to buff the
defense
levels
scale.
here. Is this going to go for
that's a
X
good
fight, which
idea
is
for his
perfectly
team.
fine. Yeah.
X-Fight gets
Miragine-
to ignore defense, so yeah.
Yeah, Miragine is weak to fire, but if you can get Miragine weak to physical, that's also going to work here. So nice job by Joe for realizing that, yeah, it's probably just going to be best to go ahead and mix up some Samson power, which we really haven't talked too much about mixes. As an antidote and revivify, it's pretty cheap. Raises your level by 10.
It might be useful for Bingo. Oh, Go-Go is a fun fight when you can just kill him with an X fight. This will be a quick win for Joe.
This is going to be Joe's going to be happy about this because Go generally, you wait 2.5 minutes, he disappears, goes to the void. Only has 3,000 HP here. X Fight will certainly take care of Go, and you don't have to wait.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to kill Go once he lets you take a turn, or even if you have a fast character on a team, sometimes you can actually get in before he even talks and kill him, which is the extra fast way to kill him.
Yeah, that's a dream. We've got Drain Sword magic, nothing going there. Obi is going to see the mantra ability in the next shop. We'll probably pick that up. Yep. Does see Dancer as well. I don't know what our race or how our racers are doing in terms of number of jobs. And meanwhile, we do see Joe finally going back into World 3. I say finally. Does the thing that I do all the time, which is hold up going into the Jakol Cave, because you logically think, oh, holding up is going to be safe because I entered from the bottom, and it turns out, nope, you just exited the cave yet again. But it's going to take on this Odin spot, kind of running out of progression. I think it might just be here and Shrine Page left.
Shrine, yeah.
So we
There's
got
a few spots in the game where the logic of what direction I came in versus what direction I need to go doesn't make perfect sense.
Yeah, and this is gonna be. I mean, we could very much just see this to be a very, very big chain in which we can't really get divergence until maybe Adamantite, Steamship Key, Sud Key. Those are things that can at least get us to forked paths, or forked tower, as the name implies. We also did get to see a consequence of the. This is.
Oh, there's Odin.
So, Odin, at Odin, if I remember correctly, it is the very last spot in the game in which you can use the break spell to break Odin. You have a 1% chance to break Odin with the break spell, if you even roll successfully to have it hit at all. So we're very much going to want the Break Blade for that spot. And Joe is absolutely going to try to avoid doing that spot as long as possible because that corner right there is very powerful, especially with the way this board is set up.
Yeah, you have to wonder how important is that tile going to be, because, you could just kill Odin, but then you would not get credit for that square. He has to be defeated by break. But what if he is gating further progression in the seed? You know what I mean? We might have a strange, difficult situation on our hands here. We'll have to
That
see what the shrine holds.
that is part of the fun of this, and this is also why you'll never see this in Blackout, because we can run into these situations where you might think, oh, I have this line in lock, and then turns out, you know, Break Blade could very well be behind Odin. Break Blade might be sitting in Mirage, and Mirage Raider might be at that spot. In which case, you could possibly, maybe, we know where the break spell is. We've seen it on Obi's side. You could spam that over and over again, and eventually, given enough rolls, you'll eventually hit it. But you're more than likely just going to take wipe after wipe after wipe after wipe, because True Edge hurts and is probably going to kill your party more often than not. So, is it worth the frustration? We'll see if it's even going to be necessary. I'm kind of hoping that this is a song for, us viewers. Joe is certainly going to hope to be anything other than a song. That way he doesn't have to go through that Odin at this moment.
I would say Joe doing the right thing here. You want to fully loot or nearly so the shrine, just because anything could have Breakblade. Any treasure spot in the whole game.
With no tiering, it could be anything. If you want to be really, really cruel, that Jakol chest that got emptied because we freed the lone wolf, that could have been Breakblade.
Oh my gosh, yes, that's right. That would be crazy.
We don't know, and we're not gonna know, because until we find Breakblade, there is one instance of Breakblade in the entire game. That's what we have to rely on.
Yeah, breaking Odin is not looking like it's going to be an easy bingo square to get in this game, unless, of course, it's in a shop that we haven't visited yet that we can actually get access to soon.
Yeah, that's going to be the hope, for sure. We do see Rock can hurt, certainly. We actually do see Joe going to dance, trying to get that MP skill square, I'm sure. We also did get Sildra, which is, a possible wind element against Omni. We also have blue and blue mage, so if we had Era, that would be a way to get that square as well. I don't think Joe has a way to actually use Sildra, except maybe he has Conjure, but doesn't have that Summoner Job Crystal that was in Pirate's Cove. We do get Ifrit's Fire.
There it is, the Ifrit's Fire. Well, might as well chase it. Shrine to back to World 1.
Got nothing else to do, really. I mean, again, unless you want to go through that Odin. He's actually going to do it in World 3, which you can also do. Nothing stopping you. You know what I'm hoping for? I am hoping that the 7 piano song is Breakblade.
Oh my gosh, that's not something I ever do.
Give me the power song. Reward Obi for his persistence in piano flexing.
He is the player that will do that, so that would be pretty cool. But yeah, it's so hard to know where things are going to be. If this doesn't pay off for Joe, I mean, it could be another key item leading along a chain, but it's starting to look like Joe might not be able to, might have to actually kill Odin just outright and abandon that bingo tile, which would be pretty rough. Bunch of checks, treasure loot checks and stuff in the pyramid at least.
Yeah, what is it? 29, I believe.
I've forgotten the number, but that sounds like a probably pretty close.
I
Yeah,
forgot.
and
Yeah,
you know, the
Joe did not defeat the Twintania, so we do also have this spot.
oh, okay. I guess neither racer had defeated Twintania yet. Yeah. Should be doable, certainly by Obi.
Yeah,
And
if you're
probably
not
Joe
certain,
at this point too.
Joe should just be able to X-Fight or dance and do it. If you're not sure if you can kill Twintania, if you have a way to instantly kill anything, you just wait until he charges up Giga Flare, and then he's vulnerable to a whole bunch of things. Yeah, but there's
Hopefully
the Giga
he's
Flare
got enough
charge.
health. Okay, it is time, so he can win as long as this doesn't miss. It probably won't. There we go.
And Joe, meanwhile, just decided to kill Twintania very quickly, so Twintania goes down at the same time for both of our racers. She's no longer a problem. We get the Waltz Tower key. So that's a possible square in R5. We just need the Adamantite, and that will clear all 4 crystal locations.
That is sometimes a bingo square, but is it? Yeah, it is in this card as well. Yep, we see
Yep.
that.
It is, honestly, I consider it a pretty rare square to ever, fill out, because that's 2 key items that you have to locate. And they're pretty, the Adamantite is 2 bosses. It is a pretty lengthy dungeon to get to the back of, so you're not really incentivized to. Absolutely, you're getting that Adamantite. The first thing you're doing is going and destroying that Earth Crystal.
Yeah, that would be a great tile towards trying to get 3 bingos, for sure. Stalker up there. Rather see Stalker at top of Waltz Tower than bottom of Waltz Tower.
What's better than 900 HP of Stalkers? 48,000. There's the Adamantite.
Yeah, big difference. Oh, you called it pretty much. You were just talking about it.
So I imagine that's going to be our immediate next step for Joe. There's no reason to not do that. Do get Arrow 3 as well, and Black's 5, so not buying Black 6 isn't too much of a problem. Like I said, I imagine we are immediately going to Lanka, or Flying Lanka Ruins here. And it's going to be interesting to me to see how much Judgejoe actually loots out Flying Lanka Ruins. There are a fair number of chests here, but quite a few of them are out of the way. But at this point, you really got to be thinking, if I can break Odin, I know that the other branches in World 3, it's looking like a really good path to 3 lines.
Yeah. Gotta say, back attack Biblos, always funny. He's one of the bosses that can just do that.
Giltoss absolutely destroying Biblos. Obi is deciding that we're going to take some Blaze counters, which is Ice Elemental, because why wouldn't it be Ice Elemental? The Gelf and the Barts here looks like they're going to survive. Hopefully Stalkers aren't too rude. They like to be... ignore the fact that they're dead quite often.
Let's not have Obi the Knight run out of HP before the last one dies here.
He's going to potion
drink a potion. They actually changed Blaze to Frost in remakes, which makes a lot more sense.
And there's the
Moogle
Moogle
suit.
suit from the first check in Flying Locker Room.
It's like, I think 7 free chests, but yeah, it's not the wonderful, powerful standard seed Moogle village. It's just 7 random things.
Breakblade could have been in one of the 2 completely hidden chests in this game in Shrine that you probably have no idea existed unless you see someone ever actually go ahead and loot it. Meanwhile, Joe is actually skipping the 5 chests in the right side of Flying Locker Ruins, which I think is pretty interesting because you are looking so heavily for Breakblade. But maybe he's hoping it's in like Mirage Shop or something when we get access to that, or if we get access to that.
Yeah, I probably would have gone for those 5 chests, but the rest of the chests are pretty spread out in here. I don't think I could grab anything else that wasn't on the way, really. Justify it, at least.
There's Megisa, which is huge. Because that's gonna clear row 5 completely. That's the dream, right? Because now we've gotten Lena Poison both times. Joe's gonna probably mark this off.
Yeah, that is just a huge value check. Everything sort of culminated. It's culminated to this point in the race. Getting big progression with sub-key, getting the 4th crystal location, getting Lena Poison for the 2nd time if you've already been on North Mountain.
We got, now you can free the air bubbles and sunken walls. Joe is gonna go into World 2, is going to clear this clear the barrier tower for the anti-barrier. As another play, right, you might think, oh, I'm gonna go to sunken walls. Free the air bubbles and sunken walls. Maybe it's Wing Raptor or Siren up there. And kind of take a couple of things here, but of course this isn't a bad play either. You know it's going to pay off with the anti-barrier.
Apologies, I misspoke earlier. Joe has not cleared all 4 crystal locations because the Karnak escaped. No worries. Looks like Joe skipping the monster in a box and other chests here at Barrier Tower. There's only 4 chests, and they kind of slow you down. So
yeah, I don't hate this.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we are going to see what is coming out of the 5, not our Breakblade.
Yeah, well, Joe is in a decent situation where Odin so far has not really blocked him. He's been able to find other things to do, and so he's hoping that probably at this point, hoping to find it at Mirage Town or even Trench Town or something, the Breakblade. Ooh, Shote. Do we have any Aegis shields? I haven't noticed.
I do not believe so, but 3 Gil tosses will take care of. You have softs. That's the trick.
Yeah, hopefully you saw some softs in a shop.
Yeah, he has 21 of them.
I don't... Oh yeah, there they are. Okay.
Like, I remember seeing them early. And you don't play this game without... without
if
buying
his dancer
softs.
here has a ribbon, then she can resist. Oh, she does not have a ribbon.
We do get a drain counter. Shote is very annoying.
Yes, but also close to dead. So that should take care of it. Yeah.
We know we're going to get the anti-barrier out of this. Obi is getting his submarine key and his tiles. So where do you go from here? You go Extef Castle? You go Pyramid?
I think I would go Extef Castle just because there's I don't know. I'm very anti-pyramid. It's kind of slow, but if you just were running through the pyramid actually and not looting at all, it's not bad. But there's monster in a box randomly. Actually, I guess they're not random, are they? If you know the monster in a box, you could skip those
They
and just loot the rest.
they should be random in this one because we're not playing with key items and monsters in the box. So they should be randomly placed.
If they're random, that makes it annoying though, because then it slows down your running through the pyramid. But it's not too bad. I mean, we've got enough power that we can take those enemies out pretty quickly.
Meanwhile, Obi is doing the other path here and is taking that submarine key and going to Sunken Walls. Is going to take that free square.
Well, yeah, the air bubbles. Might as well get that. And then if it's a instant killable boss down there, this can become a really quick check.
Now, Obi, I assume, like, his dream scenario right now is he frees the air bubble. This is the steamship key, and it's silent.
Yes.
But what's going to
yeah.
be interesting is because both our racers are marking the square as they complete it, Joe, if he's watching the board, and he's playing on a small laptop screen, so he does have the board up and it's probably right in his face as he's playing, is going to know immediately where to go.
Well, let's see. It's possible. No, you're right. It says right on the bingo tile. This is what I just did.
But Obi decides to not check 48,000 HP, says, that doesn't seem like a fun time. I'm going to do Hiryu Valley instead. Interesting choice. Maybe not something I would have made. I don't know how you feel about that. But that is what
I would
Obi
definitely
decided to
check
do.
what's there. I would check what's there. I actually am not 100% positive of the rules. If you were to free the air bubbles and then check the boss and then reset out, do you still get credit for having done the bubbles?
I believe we would say yes.
Yeah, so I would have checked it, and if it was an awful fight, sure, I would have noped out. But there's also a chance it could have been a very useful fight down there.
So Joe's going to continue for Excess Castle. Obi is doing Hiryu Valley, which I believe is nothing. Or is that the pyramid? No, that's... I think it was at the pyramid page.
Noted Hiryu Valley had the sandworm bait.
Sandworm bait. Yeah, it was just bait. That's okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and then the bait led to nothing. So yeah, it's not a great progression, but he doesn't know that.
Nope. We got two more bosses up here. There is no reason to defeat Xdef in his castle. That is a square, I believe, in some bingo boards, but not this one. Joe continues to decide that camping gear are for people who actually don't want to go fast. And I think maybe has a single cabin to his name that he looted from somewhere.
That's kind of amazing. I'm a big camping gear fan. But it does slow you down a little bit, but also rolling into fights with low health can be problematic.
Oh, this fight...
Well, he doesn't have bad health, but Sandworm stinks.
Back row,
we
have a fully physical party, so we're going to do half damage on everything. This boss normally is terrible. And this particular setup, it is, Joe's going to try to level up the dancer and then just get lucky.
Yeah, Sandworm is back row in every spot. But with a few more mixes, it won't matter. We'll still be able to hit the damage cap, I guess, no matter what. Even though he's always back row. And then we've got to just get those sword dances out. 30,000 hit points here.
It does pull off a haste drink to haste up the dancer to just get her more turns. What's really kind of annoying about Sandworm is the behavior of let's go and change holes in the middle of targeting or after you target, and then suddenly you either glitch out the game completely, or in best case scenario, you trigger a demi or a quarter counter. Uh, Basically, I don't think anyone really likes Sandworm. The best case scenario is you have Aqua Rake with Blue Magic, or you have Summoner and Leviathan. Otherwise, you just kind of have to sit here and deal with all the HP and all the annoyances that come from this boss. It's barely held together with the thinnest of tapes.
Yep, I mean, there's a chance we could get a key item here. There's good experience to be had, if nothing else. You got to kind of look at the positives, because against Sandworm, there really aren't many. Nobody enjoys the fight.
That is for sure. The good news is Jitterbug Duet does heal you.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna die here, even though we are getting a little bit of HP leak from the quicksand.
I believe that's it. That was 4 sword dances really quite quickly. Joe does have a 50% to hit sword dance. There's the trench page, which is a couple, 3 more hits, a couple of shops. So could definitely be worth it.
I didn't notice if Joe did the. Oh, he's going back to do it now. Okay, the other check in here.
Which makes sense, right? Because you're not destroying Xdef in his castle. So you don't have to take fire damage going in this path versus the other path, because you don't have to go through fire again. You just warp shard out. Now, what's interesting?
Although,
yeah, you want to explain
with,
something?
Fully open worlds flag activates a reward for defeating Castle Xdef, which is 3 random key items, and we don't have a ton of key items. There's a decent chance that Xdef could be holding one that we might want, something like maybe Mirage Radar. Who knows?
Yeah, that is a wrinkle to open world, the fully open world. That sort of 3 item choice that has definitely come into play a couple of times in our previous tournaments. It would be interesting. I think Joe is familiar with that. I don't know if there was discussion maybe in the async rooms about that. The possibility of Xdef giving key items. Joe isn't warp sharding out, so it seems like, no, he just reset, but he saved right before. I hope that didn't save over the trench page.
Would imagine. I didn't notice whether he saved after beating Sandworm, but usually that would be a good idea. It's just that Joe tends to be so aggressive. I don't know for sure whether he actually did
I think he checked by looking at those chests, saw the chests were open, so is deciding I did save after Sandworm. It would not be the first time that any of us have lost several minutes by not saving. Is going to take this Xdef. 32,000. Not too scary. At these levels, we have plenty. Should go by pretty quickly. Of course, we get our dancer that we're going to haste condemned, so that's a little bit annoying.
It's always fun to race the timer. Also, Rom, our restreamer, mentioning in chat the steamship key would be kind of another amazing item to get from Xdef in his castle here too, since that's something we're looking for to complete a bingo line.
Yep. And Obi, meanwhile, is going to walk Boko, maybe going to Odin's cave after this and see that vanilla Odin does have the break spell. I don't know if Obi is going to try and break Odin at that spot. But we shall see what happens. Joe, without having Golem, is going to eat quite a bit of damage in these double turns. Luckily, with Mix, we can mix up a Resurrection Potion, with a Phoenix Down and a Potion or Phoenix High Potion, which does bring you back to full health. So very nicely done there. And then you just get lucky and get Sword Dances.
Xdef has managed to kill Lena twice now. It wasn't the countdown that killed her either time.
Nope. You don't get EXP from Xdef anyways, so you did get a full heal after it, and we'll see what the 3 key items that we have in, sort of as a selection. Are they useful? The Elder Branch is the only thing that we don't have. So we're taking that. That's going to allow us to access Fork Tower once we go through Karnak. We know, More Forest. We know More Forest isn't going to give us a key item.
But we also know that clearing Fork Tower is an objective.
Yes.
And so we might want... No? Okay, Joe's going to World 3 instead. Now, we have a hint that says the branch is somewhere in World 3, so if you're Joe, you don't want to find that, because you just got it.
The Ribbon Girl gave away a different dancing item.
That was quite fitting from her to give away a tiara instead of a ribbon.
Running shoes, the most powerful accessory in this game. Maybe not so much in other Final Fantasies, but 50,000 is well worth the price for running shoes. Haste is probably the most broken status in the game. And having it automatically applied, you really can't beat that. And with the tiara that Joe literally just picked up, he can replace, I believe he's working with red shoes right now as his dance item. So, can replace that with running shoes, and then just put on the tiara and still get those 50% sword dances.
Yep, tiara's quite nice. It also blocks confusion, but then again, so do the shoes and the dress. So it's pretty much an even trade, but way faster with running shoes on.
So yeah, the Moor Forest and the Clear Fork Tower, that is essentially a line that you could do, right? You get the Clear Fork Tower, collect 9 jobs. That is literally just go shopping, buy one last job, because Joe, I believe, is at 8. So, I'm surprised that Joe isn't immediately going and clearing more forest to go to Fork Tower, because if Fork Tower has one of our bosses that we're missing, well, you're, I believe, just, you're pretty close to done.
I think he's worried about finding Breakblade still for Odin to complete another, because then you could complete another line with that if you clear Fork Tower and break Odin.
Yeah, but does it make sense to do that now versus clearing Fork Tower and getting row 3 sort of completed, if you're going to do that anyways? Because Breakblade could just be up there.
Yeah, I'm okay with at least checking shops that you haven't checked yet. So like that was good. But going to the pyramid, like you said, probably Fork Tower should be the play. I don't know really if Joe has developed his team very much. It seems like he's been sort of just doing one technique the whole time. And when you go to Fork Tower, it's nice to have some versatility and variety of things that you can do, because you're short-handed on team members and stuff. So he might not feel he's ready for that.
Yeah, it's especially rough with Fork Tower if you don't have any instant kills, and Joe really doesn't. You can definitely run into some problems at Fork Tower. One side seems to be pretty well equipped, wherever that knight is going with the X-Fight Ragnarok or dancing. Probably would rather have a knight than a dancer at Fork Tower. But you can concoct a team between just knights and mystic knights that can probably do it, because you can enter the menu in between towers. The game does not game over entering the menu. And it was a rainbow shirt, not a red shoes that Joe was using. My bad. So you can essentially carry the same party on 2 sides with just the X-Fight Ragnarok user and a knight.
True.
But if you have a mage party...
Yeah, the mages oftentimes give you some really useful stuff. Could be instant killables and whatever. But yeah, we'll just have to see. Like we were talking about before, potential ways to break Odin. We just found Shote. But Joe probably has at least summoned 3 by now. Like, he could try.
I don't think he has summoned 3. I think he has summoned 2.
Oh no.
And he
That's
has
surprising.
Conjure.
You would hope that you'd find it by now. That's terrible. You don't want to rely on Conjure.
At the same time, again, you still have that 1% chance of it actually hitting an Odin spot. So you probably don't
Yeah,
want to
that's
rely on
awful.
it.
If it's only 1%, you don't even want to try shouting. You want to find Breakblade.
Because not only do you get the 1%, and maybe, you know, Joe's luck is Joe's luck, so maybe he hits it first try. But if you're, you know, like us, you're probably dying to True Edge every other turn, and, you know, there's no sense in it. But it is sort of a little bit of a knowledge thing here. We're going to see if Obi is aware of what the odds are of hitting break here. Again, this is the very last possible spot in which you can break Odin by spell.
Obi did pause, now he's resetting out. I think that he knows he wants to break Odin and he needs Breakblade, basically.
Yep. So the
I
recap...
think that's a really good, quick decision by him.
Yep. Both players doing that pretty quickly is nice. So to recap, Obi is going through checks that Joe has already done in the Shrine page, which I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, was the Pyramid page? Or was it the...
Shrine gave the Ifrit's Fire.
Ah, okay, yes.
Which led to the Pyramid page, yes.
Okay. And Joe is currently in the Pyramid fighting Golem. We'll eventually be done fighting Golem, and we'll see what key item this gives, if it gives any. It will be interesting if... Well, no, we got the Falls page as well as possibility.
And we can even go to the Trench. Joe could go to Trench as well.
Yep.
Don't think he's been there yet.
What's sort of interesting is that we're not really in a boss check mode yet. I mean, we don't really have too many bosses to hunt for in the first place, but there is the steamship key, so that's pretty hard, isn't it?
Yeah, that's really nice to find. That's a pyramid payoff, I would say, even though I don't like to go to the pyramid. When you're looking for the 4 crystal locations, you might as well just do that. There's a bunch of loot you can check along the way, with, you know, small chance for finding that Breakblade. But at this point, you know, Joe could maybe find the Mirage Radar, and that would be a bingo clear for him, and then he could go to Fork Tower, and he wouldn't even have to worry about Odin.
No, I mean, there's a non-zero chance that by the time Joe gets out of steamship, he's just going to be in a boss check mode. You know, whether or not that's Siren, Wing Raptor, Liquid Frame. Because the getting kicked over the fence by, Sheep, that's a free thing. And then he'd just be looking for Liquid Flame. We've seen plenty of vanilla bosses already. What's one more, right? So you'd have your diagonal there. Your bottom left, top right diagonal. You'd have row 5. And then you're looking for, Wing Raptor to finish it off. Or Siren or something like that.
Yeah, some of these things that Obi has lit that Joe has not lit, they're freebies at this point, so he can just go and do them very quickly. So they're practically, well, I call them freebies. So yeah, they're free for him to do if he needs to complete a bingo line really, really quick and easy.
Yep,
So that's how I kind of like to finish a lot of my bingo seeds, is just do the freebie at the end.
Yeah, why spend the time going out of your way to do something when the lines that you're going to complete don't really need it? And
Exactly. It's more just like, can you keep track of your bingo board easily or not? Because sometimes I have trouble with that. But if I'm keeping good track of it, then I can save those things for the end.
But we will see
what is Antlion.
With the Hear You Call, we know that there is going to be no key item of value from Burning Karnak, because we know that's going to be a barren location. We'll see if Joe decides to loot at all here, or is just going to leave and check with the bosses. I don't really expect much looting from Joe, but maybe he proves me wrong.
Well, it's pretty quick looting. He can look at the bingo board and see that well, actually, it doesn't really indicate that he's ahead of Obi. Well, I guess that's more our knowledge, not his knowledge. But if he's been following it closely enough, he could sort of look at the delay between the bingo tiles that he's gotten versus what Obi has gotten. Yeah, there's just a chance of, I guess, maybe Breakblade or something in here, so he's going to do some looting.
If there are 3 monsters in a box in this area, we've already seen 2, so there's just 1 more. So maybe we'll see a roof play here. Certainly not going to go down the side towers.
I think that last room he looted had 2 chests, one on each side, and they were both iron helmets.
That seems likely.
It becomes sad when, in this sort of flag set, there's so much good stuff available early, and then the more you loot later, the more junk you find, and you're like, oh, I'm not used to seeing something this bad here.
Yep. Yep. So Obi is going to the back of the library. Joe finds telekinesis. We get no Kuru today. There is no Toad of our party. It is just Jeff for Hallie. And we'll get the 4 crystal locations, and we'll see if we get anything good from the
first. Sorry, technically the first bingo line has been completed of the seed, but the seed's going to be over pretty soon, I think.
Yep, that is 118. 1 line completed. We're pretty close to getting a couple, but again, we don't know where the things are that are needed to actually complete any other line, except for, well, no, Breakblade isn't anything. Joe is gonna go into more forest now. Probably do a little bit of looting here.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Obi is going to go to the pyramid.
Chance for Breakblade in one of these chests. If you don't get it, well, this is the way to clear Fork Tower, so Joe is on that path.
As Ram is pointing out, Breakblade would be go mode for Joe.
Yes.
Because clearing Fork Tower is Roseberry.
An Odin win would be 3 bingos, yep. And of course, clearing Fork Tower along with it.
That being said, Omni. Finding Omni would be a go mode for Joe as well. Just would need to equip Blue or Blue Mage and use Arrow 3. Don't even have to beat Omni, you just have to hit him once with Wind.
Interesting, yep, I did not think about that. If a panda was here, though, I don't think Joe has any... I don't think he has effort to scare the panda with.
Hilariously enough as well, I believe Joe has Summon 2, and we do have Sylph, so technically Wind Element there as well.
Oh my gosh, I don't think they're Wind Element, but
Are they
really should be. Well, they just leech HP. I don't know if there's any element to them.
Interesting. I thought it was, but maybe not in this game. There's our Wing Raptor, though. Kinda hilarious, because it doesn't... It's a boss that is a square. But it's
Joe must have a Dark Matter. Come on. He's got mixers. Dark Matter Phoenix down. He must have 1 Dark Matter to make this fight quick.
Well, look, if he had Black 6 and he had gone to Licks and found Doom, this fight would also be over. But no. At the same time, what would be interesting is... So, actually, let me ask you this. Do you go to History and get kicked by a sheep right now, after this Wing Raptor?
Probably, yeah, because you never know when you might stumble across Liquid Flame.
Yeah, so
Why not?
So
you
could
go... Yeah. At this point, it's becoming so late that you do want to have the advantage of having that tile done. Oh, I didn't realize Wing Raptor was a tile. My bad.
And yeah, so Lily is confirming Self is non-elemental in FF5. Thank you, Lily, for the confirmation. So yeah, I would go to History and get kicked by the sheep, because if Liquid Flames in Fork Tower 1, you don't have to complete Fork Tower, right? You
Yeah,
have your
and
line.
in fact, getting the bubbles and sunken walls, and then finding Siren at Fork is another way to finish the seed without actually clearing Fork.
Yeah, it's interesting, because it kind of would support either play. Honestly, I'd probably go the Sunken Walls route first, because you don't have to worry about, okay, how am I getting through Fork Tower if that happens to be a thing? Whereas at
Yeah,
least
do
if you're
the
going to Sunken,
bubbles and actually go all the way down and check what's there too,
looks like
right?
Joe
Because
is going to go the
Obi
Fork
skipped
route.
out on that.
Yep.
Okay.
Joe's going the Fork route. He's saying at least that's a line. Is what I imagine his thought is.
Yeah, well, maybe Liquid Flame will be in Fork, and it will be clearing Fork will end the seed for him. Who knows? I mean, you've got a lot of options.
Yep. And we don't know what's going to be correct because we don't know where our answers are. Obi is getting through Golem. I think it was slightly faster than Joe's just because AoE damage versus non-AoE damage. But yeah, Joe is solely looking, I believe, just for Siren or Liquid Flame. Chance and Mirage Raider is up here too. Obi does get the steamship key. Even though Nose is going to be behind Joe here, you're kind of forced into following that. I don't think you really have a choice. That's just too. You need to do that line.
Yeah, I would do. If I was Obi, I would be doing the same thing. Just go straight to the steamship and get that tile done. Sometimes it looks sort of inevitable because you see that your opponent has done things and you pretty much need to do those things too. Like you want to diverge, but you don't always have the opportunity to go a different way than what they're doing.
Yeah, if Joe doesn't finish with Fork Tower here, I mean, if Obi wants to take a very long shot, he just goes right into the Void.
Right. Yeah. Void is your hope in terms of finding a boss or two that is needed.
Yeah.
For the other things, it's a lot less likely to pan out for you. Like, obviously, you can't clear Fork Tower by going into the Void. You can't break Odin by going to the Void. So you have to you can't get the radar there. You have to hope for the other things.
Let's see what's at Fork. The first boss is Minnow.
Wow, vanilla.
Yeah, that is definitely vanilla. That is also a very dead dancer.
Gosh, he hurts so much, but we have mixing. We have running shoes. We need some little sword dance luck here.
So Minnow likes to counter and likes to double hit. Well, hopefully we have some high potions, because if we don't, we're just gonna Phoenix down. It doesn't really matter. Minnow is going to,
Yeah, he's
Else
one-shotting Lena anyways. Yeah.
So the other problem here, of course, is we need to make sure that we have both characters alive when we kill Minnow. Minnow will absolutely counter with Holy. Unlike Vanilla, Minnow does have enough MP to cast Holy at the end of the battle. So
yeah,
we are going
rough.
to see. We are
Do
going
we have
to see.
Do we have an Aegis shield on this Mystic Knight for a miracle save? Probably not. Well, there's a high potion, but it doesn't really matter, like you were saying. Yeah, just got to get in the sword dance, and we have to have two people standing. Oh gosh, the timing has just been awful on this so far.
Again, the problem is, like, Joe doesn't have the turns here. Right? Like, there's no... Like, I can't see a way he wins this because Minnow is taking a turn.
This might work out if his dancer is fast enough to get in an
Okay,
attack
there
right
we
here.
go. Didn't actually kill though, needs to do it one more time, and again, Joe needs to make sure that he has both characters actually standing by the time he gets to kill shot.
Does he only have one Phoenix down left and he just used it? I think so. It's
Well,
gotta work out right here. He's trying to run buffer. Uh-oh. Now
hopefully
this
you
is
have an Aegis shield
problematic.
on. So,
Yeah.
put
Go
on
for
the
like the
shield. I
drain
know
kiss
that we
mix
had an Aegis
if you
shield.
have it.
There's the
Maiden
Aegis
kiss
shield.
plus turtle shell. Oh, Aegis shield going for the miracle. Yes. Oh, elixiring himself.
So
Okay,
if we
yeah,
get a
yeah.
block, which we didn't, you got what? It's a 1 in 3rd chance.
There's a mix. Drain kiss mix is what you got to use here because it leaches HP. And it will heal you up to full, but it requires turtle shell and maiden's kiss. I think he's got maybe 1 turtle shell at most. It would have killed though.
Yeah,
I think that would have been the solution, but that's really rough. What you need there is that image ability that you were talking about earlier. Is so good against Minnow.
Yep, in Licks, which Joe doesn't have. We're gonna see where Obi goes, having cleared his 4 crystals. Is just gonna go right into the void.
Oh, Obi making that void play boss hunting. Okay.
Joe could also win this by entering a critical party with a knight covering. Would also work. So there are options, and we do have knight if you wanted to go that route. It is just rough running into Minnow immediately in Fork Tower, but at least it's in spot 1 and not spot 2.
Yeah, you don't want to win the first half of Fork and then lose the second half and have to refight the first half. It takes even longer than just dying in the first half. Yeah, Obi's gamble here, looking at his board, it's a pretty long shot, I think. He's gonna have to find one of the bosses like Liquid Flame, and then he's gonna have to find Omni after that, and that would give him a triple bingo. Siren or Liquid Flame, followed by Omni in the void would kind of be his only hope, I think.
But we'll see what happens. We don't know what this boss is. Shiva, which is none of the above. Also kind of rude here, to be honest.
I guess he could also kill Omni. Omni doesn't have to be last for him. He just needs to use the wind element, but you know, if there's another tile that needs to be done after Omni, he has to finish off Omni. He can't just use wind against him.
I am so interested in what is behind that Odin.
Oh yeah, for sure. Who knows? Nice safety reset there by Obi. He didn't like how the fight started, or maybe one of his decisions. Maybe he thinks that Shiva can be instant killed by Odin, but cannot. So Odin always is going to do Gungnir against her.
So there's Joe getting a little bit better luck there. Getting 2 sword dances, just needs 1 more. And is also getting excellent blocking luck. It's the counters, though, that are going to get you. Because
you know what?
now...
The mystery wall is kind of nice, too, because there's a chance you can drain Minnow of his enough MP to actually cast Holy on you.
It is certainly possible.
You get a couple mystery waltzes in there. I don't know what his MP total is here, but...
that will do it.
It's not super high. Another reset by Obi. This one, an actual hard reset. Oh, and yeah, stole enough MP. So there was no holy there. That's kind of nice from the dancer. What do we get?
Mirage Radar. That is a square. So that all Joe has to do is clear Fork Tower. Just needs to get through this boss.
Yeah, and that will be the end of his bingo journey. 3 horizontal, lower 3 lines on the board.
It's like,
By the
let
way,
me
on
take a
the
look.
collecting 9 jobs, I assume he has that. It's really hard for us to check that, but I'm going to assume that he checked it. Is this Greg 3?
It is Greg 3. So if we had,
And
a
of
dark
course, he
matter.
still doesn't have that dark matter. This can be a bit of a problem. He's looking for instant death status stuff. Oh, black? But he doesn't have Doom. There is Enkidu, so now it's a 2 versus 2 fight here.
Does have Condemn.
That would work on Enkidu.
Eventually.
But it takes some time, yeah. He might not have that much time.
I mean, we have
Might be
time, so you just hasten Kidu, but yeah, no, this is just, Giltos is gonna have to work. You have the win in hand in the bingo tournament, at least in this board. You just gotta get through this fight. Throw all the elixirs, throw all the healing that you have. There's no point in keeping it. You can't keep it. So once Greg 3 does give his speech, that will be completing Fork Tower.
Yeah, this is looking really good for Joe. There goes Enkidu. Now it's just Greg to finish off, and not that many hit points left.
We got Soulkin at the bottom, so not the boss we were looking for. But with that,
Greg 3 has lost here, and so that's I don't know exactly when you stop the timer. I guess when he disappears.
When you click the board.
And Fork Tower is clear, yeah.
And so that is GG's for Joe. Get your GG's out in chat. Nice chicken knife as your last reward. But Joe does take game 1. And this was... Obi is saying GG's in chat. And does forfeit, decides to not go through Fork Tower. Well, he doesn't even have the Elder Branch. Which might be, not for Mirage, we know that. But that is game 1 of this series between Judgejoe and Obi. Game 2, I believe, is in Monday night, I believe, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. So same time, just 2 days later. That's going to be a boss bingo, so less of these random goals, more just go find your bosses.
Yeah, the boss bingo is a 5-line bingo, and so the entire card will just say eat such and such boss. 25 of the bosses in the game, and yeah, five lines. It's a little bit more straightforward, and then if there is need for a third game, it becomes a blackout. Sorry, what's the term? It's not blackout. It's
a lockout bingo, which is honestly my favorite of the 3 sets that we have, because we just open everything up. So game 2 is going to be more of our standard race settings. You have World 1 and World 2 unlocked from the beginning. You have the standard tiering of items. And so it plays very much like a regular Siege. Just do it quickly. Game 3, on the other hand, we say, we don't give you any loot tiering. We don't give you... we actually do play with random items, so items can have random abilities or random spells attached to them, which can play a little bit of a role, a little bit trickiness, because you don't really want to hit your enemy and have Big Guard being cast on the enemy, or things like that. So it's interesting. We also give you all the key items to start with, and so you have everywhere to go at the beginning. And so you can see like a leapfrog mechanic. If you're running to bosses that your opponent is running into, then you just go somewhere else entirely, and you don't know what you're going to get. So game 3 is actually sort of my favorite of the 3 flags or 3 sets that we have for this tournament. I don't know how you feel about it, Dry.
I would like to try it. I haven't tried it yet, because you have to, when you're practicing on your own, oftentimes, maybe you don't have someone that you're working on that with. I usually practice on my own. And then one other thing about that mode is that because you could be blocking each other so much, it's not bingo lines, but it's actually first to get 13 tiles. And that becomes a majority of there's 25. So whoever gets to 13 first is the winner there.
I'm hopeful we see some game threes as someone who is not playing in this tournament. Those are going to be the real fun ones to watch and commentate, I found.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
looking forward to that for sure. Hopefully, I won't be playing it before I get to see it.
well, I mean, Joe's no stranger to game threes, right? Joe very much, I believe, what, 2 tournaments ago, or maybe last tournament? I think it was 2 tournaments ago. Uh, I think like every round he was going to game three.
Yeah, he played like the maximum possible number of games, I think, in one of the tournaments.
Yeah.
Something like that. Well, I guess if you go down to the lower bracket, you'd get more games that way, but still, he played a heck of a lot of games.
But I don't know if I imagine we're inviting them to chat if they want to. I don't have a way to invite them because I can't type in their race room. But if we're gonna see whether or not they are willing to come into this voice channel to actually. I cannot.
All right, we'll see if we can figure out how to ask them. Otherwise, our wonderful restreamer can probably invite them.
But yeah, no. So game 2 is gonna be Monday night. Do we have any other games coming up?
I don't remember seeing any more on the schedule. They're going to be added to the schedule soon. I mean, I know I have to start scheduling my games soon. I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
And we do give a couple of weeks for each of these rounds. It is a pretty small tournament, so plenty of time. Again, I want to take this moment to thank Final Fantasy Randomizer, FF1 Randomizer community for allowing us to put up this showcase and obviously use their resources, in particular ADR and Dark Moon, for all of their support with this tournament. Big shout out to those folks. We are joined by our racers tonight, Judgejoe and Obi. G's to both of you.
GG's, guys, and check your mics, make sure they're not muted, and
Well, thank you.
Talking with you.
So
That
take me
was
through.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yo,
those were.
one. Let's just make some quick decisions on who should talk first. Can you elaborate on what you felt was interesting there, Joe?
Just overall, where the route I ended up taking to get through in the end, like, I still don't know where logically Fork Tower access is.
Good point. Yeah, you got that branch from Exdeath in his castle, and we were thinking that was a pretty good play at the time because we were looking for key items, and it paid off for sure.
I will say that was. I don't know how you feel about that, Joe. Those were not the 3 lines that I was expecting to be filled out, even most of the way through the seed.
No. I think the Siren or the Liquid Flame, that Odin, well, Breakblade, I've got no clue where that is.
Yeah, no, neither of you found it. I imagine both you, Joe, and Obi, when you saw the Odin at Vanilla location, you just kind of like, oh, he started with Mystic Knight. That's great. Where is Breakblade?
I'm like, I'm never going to hit a I shouldn't even think and consider trying to hit a show. I don't care if it's go mode. I don't think that's happening.
It is 1% to hit.
At max level?
It is a strict 1% because the magic evade at that spot is 99.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great that both of you noped out so quickly, realizing that you really need that break blade, and yep, nobody knows where it was. Didn't see it. Odin just hanging out there in the upper right of the bingo card and saying, nah, you have to break me. go try some other stuff.
Were you at
And we
all
don't know
worried?
what sort of we don't know what sort of progression he might have been gating it either.
I was about to go and fight the Odin, I think. It was short
Yeah.
on my list.
Yeah, we were curious as you were heading up the shrines. We had seen everything really except for that and I guess Twincania going back to Moogle Waterway. It's like we're really running out of places that could be holding any of our key items of which we have basically none. It would be really hilarious to have Breakblade behind the required Odin. Unfortunately for us viewers, that was not the case. Shrine did open up several things. But going back to the beginning, a question for both of you, sort of, you took a look at that bingo board before you started racing. What were the things that sort of stuck out in your mind, things to sort of watch out for?
I'll let Obi start that if he's ready, or...
Yeah, when I looked at this card, I knew I would have to find a way to do mantra. And then I wanted to use mantra with in combination with Lena being poisoned. It just so happened that I ended up doing it with Necro's Flash. But I knew I had to find mantra, and I did fairly early. So that was one I had to keep in mind. And then I had dance super early, so I got to steal some MP out of the way. But it was really just key items and certain bosses, and I just could not find the specific bosses. Yeah, and like you said, I saw Odin, and it was just, no. Don't know where Wing Raptor was, and I had Ifrit. Was waiting for a panda the whole seed. Never saw him. Got super excited when I saw Biblos, though. Thought it was him, but nope.
So
Yeah, that was unfortunate, and that might have actually been an advantage for you, Obi, that just unfortunately didn't pan out, because you had Summoner, and Joe never went to the Pirate Cave where the Summoner job was hiding out early on.
That makes sense.
But then Joe also didn't go into Licks and see the absolutely busted shop that had, what, Fire 3, Doom, Bahamut, and Odin?
All in one shop. In Licks.
I had some pretty early power. I felt pretty good about my party. 10s were really the big thing that I could have shopped for, and when I started to go on a little bit of a Breakblade hunt, I did find 10s and cabins, which was nice, but for me, when I first looked at the card, the Magatha being in the center that's 4 different important things, and then you combine that with get Lena poisoned, and you go, and that's most of a row there. I saw a lot of key item hunts, so I knew it would be kind of fairly... I was going to focus on clearing more than some of the more oddball type things. But yeah, no, the Magatha and Lena, along with the 4 crystals with the steamship key, were kind of the main things that stood out at the start as a way to start planning a route.
Yeah, I think it was interesting to see both of you sort of take a little bit of divergence even immediately. I mean, both of you looted Tycoon Castle, but then pretty quickly went off to do your own things for a little bit until meeting up again in Wind Shrine when you finally started taking bosses. I mean, sort of the standard play. Of course, we have Game 2 coming up. Correct me if I'm wrong, that's in 2 days. That's Monday night.
Yes, that's what we scheduled it for.
That's going to be, more of your standard settings, of course, except with the boss hunt twist. So I imagine is the plan for both of you sort of to play as you would a standard seed and then maybe go a little bit crazy, say going through a void earlier than you normally would. I forget if we start you guys with... I don't think we start you guys with 4 tablets.
Just one.
Yeah, just one.
It's fairly standard race, so it's going to be very clear. I I likely will honestly early on possibly just stop hunting down hints for the most part. Yeah, the void tracking it down can be important. A couple other high value key items might be good to get hinted, but for the most part, unless the bosses are being extra mean, I think it is better to just clear as you can, build your power, build the difficulty of the fights.
How about you, Obi?
It's a situation to where Joe is just a little bit faster than I am, so I'm gonna have to kind of break out of the mold of loot so much and go on the standard path. So I'm definitely gonna have to do some things that are not typical of standard Obi plays and really kind of swing for the fences on this one.
I am going to look forward to Monday night for sure. I mean, this was a wonderful showcase, I believe, of Bingo. Just sort of, the expectations, even mid game, late game, being like, okay, we think these lines are going to be what's going to be completed, and it's like, no, apparently all of our bosses are on vacation, and somehow we managed to clear all 4 crystal locations, which is not really a square that you would expect to happen, I would say, in these seeds. Just because of the key item requirement, but it turned out, yeah, no, very much a square that got completed and had some goodies behind it. Dry, do you have any other questions for our racers tonight?
I don't really have questions. I just want to thank both of them for putting on an entertaining race. There was some really cool stuff going on. Obi mentioned his mantra removes poison, but also removes blindness. So good use of that against Necro. And for Joe, I do think your battle against Minnow was pretty entertaining. Yeah.
That Minnow hurt me.
It often does. By the way, I believe Image was also in Licks.
Oh, image plus dancer plus a man eater plus running. Yeah.
Card does work as well. No, it was entertaining. You never want to see Minnow in Fork Tower. You're just glad that it was the first boss and not the second boss, really. I mean, with that, I know it's getting certainly late for our restreamer here, Rums. I do want to thank you for putting this on. Judgejoe and Opie, I know it's been a while for you as well, but I think I am going to let you guys go if you guys have any other words for us or the restream or the chat. Any final thoughts?
It was super fun, and congratulations to Joe. He's a great opponent and a super cool guy. And thank you, restreamers, commentators, and everybody in chat. I implore you guys to check out Career Day. It is a top tier randomizer. Please check it out.
Yeah, pretty much most the same. It's always fun racing. Pretty much anyone in the community. It's just a good time, and it's always fun to watch it back. Sure, there's definitely stuff I can learn from this, so I'll be looking forward to that.
Like I said, do want to thank you both for putting on a wonderful show. It was very entertaining for a Saturday night. It was great to commentate. So thank you once again. I hope you both have a good night.
Everyone here as well. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you everyone for joining. Thanks to all two runners, thanks to Liza and Farry for commentating. I hope you all enjoyed the restream on Randomizer 1. We are going to wrap it up. As we mentioned, next match will happen in 2 days, same hour, same runners, but not the same restreamers. Alright, goodbye everyone.